So what exactly is a high-bright display or sunlight readable display or monitor? And do you really need one for your application? I'm Keith with Panel-Brite, and that's what this video is all about. So a sunlight readable or VHB, very high bright display, or super bright display, many manufacturers use all these different terms, is simply a display or monitor that's much brighter than a standard monitor. Now that doesn't really tell you a whole lot, so we need some type of brightness scale for a comparison's sake. And the most common used in the display industry is nits, N-I-T-S. It's something that you're going to see on most data sheets or spec sheets. And just to keep things very simple, the higher the nit rating, the higher the number, the brighter the display. The lower the nit number, the lower the brightness of the display. So a 1000 nit monitor or display is going to be quite a bit brighter than a 200 nit display that may be in a desktop monitor or a laptop. Now a standard high bright monitor usually has a nit rating anywhere from around 800, some all the way up to 5000 nits. Now I'm not sure why some of them go that high, because nit ratings really aren't linear in the sense that a 1000 nit monitor isn't 5 times brighter than a 200 nit monitor. So really when you top out around 2000 nits, you're really getting about as bright as what's helpful as far as seeing the picture on the screen. Now this particular laptop that I have here, the Apple MacBook Pro, has a very high-end Retina display that's 500 nits. But I want to compare that to one of our high bright monitors, and you can see with your own eyes that the brightness and the contrast of a high bright really stick out, even in the low ambient light that we have here in our film studio. But the question remains, for your application or your project, do you really need a high bright display? Well, it really depends on your specific application. But what I'm going to share with you are basic industry standards to help you make that decision. And the industry standards kind of go like this. If you're in an indoor high ambient light application, such as maybe in the center of a mall where there's an atrium overhead, so there's quite a bit of brightness even though that it's indoor, typically that ambient light reading is going to be somewhere between 1000 and 3000 nits. And to overcome that kind of ambient brightness, you're going to need a display that puts out at least 500 nits of brightness. Now if you're outdoors, but in an indirect sunlight type of situation, typically the ambient light reading is going to be 3000 to 7000 nits. And to overcome that brightness, you're going to need a display that's pushing out at least 800 nits. And then finally, if you're in direct sunlight outdoors, which is the most challenging environment, which is putting out between 7,000 and 10,000 nits, then you're going to need a display that's able to push out at least 1000 nits or more for you to be able to see the content on the screen in a very readable way. So hopefully this has helped give you some insight into helping you better decide if a high bright display or a standard bright display is going to be adequate for your application. And if you want to get a lot more in depth on how to choose a high bright display with all the different competitors and all the different specifications out there, you can click on this link to go to our next video, which is how to compare apples to apples, different high bright displays to make sure you get the right one for your application. I'm Keith with Panel-Brite. Thanks for watching.